So you've created your funeral celebrant care plan. You've now got to communicate this. And so I'm going to teach you my 5-point plan that will guarantee you funeral celebrant bookings. And this is all based upon something called the Tip-Top Celebrant Touch-Point Plan. Now, if you're unfamiliar with touch-point marketing, basically the 5 different stages are quite universally applied across all purchase and booking decisions that people make that is something that is either very expensive or significant and important to them. So just imagine you're booking a family holiday or buying a family car. You're not going to buy the first thing that you come across. Instead, what's going to happen is you're going to follow the following 5 stages. You're first of all going to educate yourself and learn about all the different options that might be available to you before you then narrow down your different options to make your consideration, which will be fully informed with everything that you can gather before you then finally take your final decision and you either buy that product or you book that particular service. Now, straight away, when you make that purchase, you'll then get an immediate response from that company or organization. And you will then have a feeling as to whether actually they're meeting your expectations or whether actually that company or organization oversold itself. Depending upon your experience of that product or service will then depend upon whether you then go on to recommend or advocate for it to other people. Now, the touchpoint marketing applies as much to celebrancy as much as it does to anything else that is important and significant. And so when funeral directors are deciding whether to book you to write and deliver a funeral service for one of their really important families, they are going to need to be taken through that 5-point plan. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means, first of all, that you need to educate your funeral directors about who you are and why you think you're going to be a really, really good funeral celebrant for them. You're going to need to then convince them that actually over time that they can place their trust in you. It won't happen overnight, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. You'll then eventually be booked, and of course how well you do on that first service and the feedback that the family give to the funeral director or the funeral arranger the day after the funeral will largely then depend upon whether you get booked a second time. So what do you do in order to try to educate and help those funeral directors and funeral arrangers to consider you as a funeral celebrant that they should use?